This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenrail radio playlist. zenrailclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Pornian Bakery. If you're located in the Pornian area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Pornian Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone could podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. All right, before we jump right into all the other topics, I thought this was pretty interesting because I saw it this morning and we were like looking at it. Shout out to my cousin for getting on that LA League of Legends team. So funny how, you know, like him not going to school and stuff, and then I was like really adamant about like, oh, you need to go to school, and then like prove me wrong with that. You know, like you really don't think that there are alternate paths in life, because I didn't get it. I was like, who's going to like hire somebody to just play some video games, right? But I guess like the world's really changing, which I find really interesting about this whole thing, because it's like now, what are the paths in life? Like I was listening to this podcast with Jocko Willink and Joe Rogan, and what he was saying was that when people were younger in high school, it was like they didn't actually have to like pursue the traditional path, because there was like a lot of factory jobs, like they were making like leather goods, you know, and he's bringing that back to America with his company.
Oh yeah.
You know, like and like it wasn't only until like maybe like last 50 years that they started talking about like, oh, in order to do anything with your life you need like a high school education, and then in order to do anything with like your life you need like a university degree. Now you need a master's, you know what I mean? Like it keeps like pushing itself forward, but we lost that connection to like alternate paths, you know. And I thought that was pretty interesting with like the esports thing coming up, because it's like, oh, you really didn't need to do...
Well, it's... You know? When they say those things, it's a generalized thing, which is true for the general...
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like,
people.
This is the easiest path to, like, take.
Yeah.
Like, because it's concrete.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
It's much harder to carve your own path. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Agree.
Yeah. So, like, we know by statistics, right? Like, the person who has, like, a university degree has a more... pay, like his lifestyle of living is more better than a person who just has a high school degree, right?
For sure. Yeah. I was actually thinking about that too, because it's like you can do this because, okay, so he's going to like fly to LA and like be in that world, right? But like, what does that mean for your future? What does that mean for your kids? What does that mean for like? But it's like if you choose not to do those conventional things, then you're free to do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like even look at my own situation, it's like I'm choosing not to do those things in order to do these things, you know?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I find that really fascinating that I guess it's mostly fascinating that somebody else did it.
Right.
Because like for me, it's like I was doing that, you know? They're like, oh, why don't you just like, I always hear that, like, why don't you get a corporate job, right? Or like, why do you still do martial arts, right? But these are the things I like.
Yeah.
And but he wasn't very vocal about his thing. Like I heard that he was like playing for like UFT, but I was like, who's going to, like in my head, I couldn't conceptualize it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's a whole new world, even for us, right? Like
totally, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, esports
is blowing up.
Well, it has been. It's just we never paid attention as much because we weren't into it. But I watched a League of Legends Origins, this documentary thing about like how it happened and how it became such a big esports thing. That because it's like a worldwide thing, they like the finals. I think early on, is like the early finals had like so many millions of people watching, where it was combined higher than like NHL, NBA, and some other one.
Oh, interesting.
All together, they had a bigger audience.
Oh, no way. Wow.
And I think in the video too, they showed like a full-on stadium.
Yeah. I saw that. Yeah. Oh, actually,
Just watching someone else play League of Legends.
Yeah,
that's
right?
the thing.
Dude, that's crazy. And it's like there are these subcultures in, you know what it is? It's like, if you can see the path, chase the path, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So for example, like, we had no idea about this, like, so to me, I was like, dude, this isn't smart. Like, why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Right? From my perspective. But like, you know, he moved in silence, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I just got this job offer to do this, right? In LA. It's like, what? But like, he saw the path, you know, because he's in the world, right?
Yeah.
So for example, like, even with my own jiu-jitsu thing, like, my mom's still like, why are you doing jiu-jitsu? Because it's rough, right? So she's like, why are you doing that? You know? And then, but to me, I'm like, you don't realize that jiu-jitsu is about to take over the police force because of like Henry Gracie stuff. Like, they're really looking to implement it. Like, all of USA is already making a push for it, right? Because of like the use of force with like the all the, what was the guy who got choked out? George Floyd. Yeah. So like, because of that, and like so many other incidences of like too much like physical force being used, but that's only because they're not properly trained. They don't know when to release a choke. What does the choke look like? You know, et cetera, et cetera. So like, for me, I'm like, I'm going to follow this path because this path's going to lead somewhere because it's blowing up. But that's to me. Like, nobody else sees that, you know? Like, nobody knows that there's this like underbelly of, you know, jiu-jitsu within the police force going on. They're just seeing like superficial level,
Right.
you know? And it's really fascinating to me that, like, even though it was one of my own principles of like, yeah, like, follow your own path, I didn't expect it to just like surprise me like that. Like, he's like, oh, I'm going to LA now. Like, what? You know? I even looked at the contract for him, and I was like, I don't think this is a smart move. Like, I was reading, I was like, I don't know. Do you have these skills? Like, can you do this? Whatever. Like, it's also in America, bro. Like, what? And he's like, yeah, I could do it. I'm like, okay, whatever. I told him, like, if you don't care if it fails, go do it then, you know? And yeah, there you go. Yeah, fascinating. Follow dreams, people. You never know. Like, you really never know. I mean, like, if you can really see it, not like, this is like, because there's other things where it's like you're not making a move towards it, right? Like, oh, I want to do this one day, but you're not actually doing it. You're not making any steps towards it. And then it's like, okay, that's a pipe dream. Yeah, it's like silly. But if you're actually like incrementally having successes, just keep following your successes. Yeah, you know, because you never know.
Are you still young?
So. I was 21.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, but like,
but he's been in it for a longer time.
Yeah, I like left school and didn't even finish grade 10. So like, he was 14 or 15, something like that.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So like, that's what, 20, like 6 years now.
Yeah.
I guess?
No, I was saying like his experience in the coaching for League of Legends. He's had.
I guess.
At
like,
least on his roster.
Right? And his resume thing. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Like, you can like Deus League of Legends fandom. Like, what is this? Yeah, I don't know. It's fascinating. It's pretty cool. Like, I feel like I owe him an apology. It's like, I'm like, I really didn't see it, but you saw it. So cool, man. Yeah. Okay, so speaking of jiu-jitsu, I also had another enlightening revelation this week, and I was like telling you about it. But, okay, so I'm changing what I said to you this earlier. So earlier this week, I said jiu-jitsu is not really for everyone, right? I'm changing that to jiu-jitsu is for everyone, but the journey of jiu-jitsu is not for everyone. So what I mean by that is, from white to blue, especially like if you follow the Gracie jiu-jitsu system, white to blue, there's no rolling. It's just real life scenario situations that you're drilling. So it's like, if somebody's gonna punch you, self-defense. Yeah, that's what Gracie jiu-jitsu is, straight up self-defense. Okay. But like, you're not fighting with anyone yet.
Yeah.
You're not going like head to head. Yeah. Right. So like, from white to blue, you can stay in the white belt zone forever. Like Hickson Gracie, he was talking about that. Like, it should be divided into like white and then blue onward. So if you're a white belt, you could stay white belt forever. Just like keep training the moves. You'll get community. You'll get like a knowledge of self-defense, but you won't get that realism. But if you want realism, you have to move up to blue, because then blue onward, which is like the journey of jiu-jitsu to get to black belt, you have to get crushed, you know? And because I was like such a strong proponent of everyone should do jiu-jitsu. Like to me, because I was bitten by the bug, right? And like realizing like my defense is really strong right now only because I've been crushed so many times that I'm like, okay, don't do that again. Like my neural pathways are growing, you know? And like but in order for you to get to that level, you have to be crushed. And
of course.
Being crushed is like that's not for everyone. Like I was telling you this week, this is called a bow and arrow choke, where you grab the collar and you grab the leg and then you drive the knee into their spine. So like it's like a backbreaker.
Right.
If you look at wrestling, right? But the primary focus is that pressure. If you grab correctly on the neck, all the pressure is on your neck, so you're choking with your own lapel. It's like if you take your t-shirt, run it across your throat, that's what you're choking with, right? But my partner didn't have that, and I knew it, so I was like, okay, I'm safe here. He's not gonna choke me out. But he was still pulling as if he had it. So I was like, okay, this just went from a choke to a backbreaker.
Right.
And I was like, okay, you're not gonna choke me, so I'm just gonna wait till you get tired. But how many people are gonna wait till they get tired?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I could see like the fear, but not me. I was like, okay, I'm fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But like I'd see what somebody else would go through. Like, is my spine gonna break? Are they gonna let go? Why are they being so rough? Blah blah blah. And it's like, that's not for everyone. And that's what I mean. Like the journey is really not for everyone. Or like the wrestler who like had my head, he was trying to crush it like a grape.
Right.
But I was like, that's not choke, so I'm not gonna tap. But I was like, this is not comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So. Jiu-jitsu for everyone. The journey is not for everyone, though. I heard this before, actually, recently, is like the levels of truth. Like martial arts comes in levels of truth. Okay. So like you have feeds, right? So like my first black belt was straight feeds. Like we were kicking pads and stuff, and then feeds are like, grab my wrist, not that wrist. Okay, like this. You know, it's like very like specific situation. Or like they'll punch and then you do the whole defense, but like they didn't move from the punch.
Right.
And then you move up to that, which is like you get maybe like judo, where it's like you're just doing throws. And then you get to jiu-jitsu, which is the highest level of truth, where it's like go full blast, whatever you want. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think that apex level is like few and far between.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
Yeah.
But like I think martial arts is for everyone though, because feeds are like, you just exercise.
Yeah.
Like feeds are like
in the general
whatever.
sense, yeah. It's just there's levels to it, as you said.
Yeah. But it's interesting too, because like I never felt, so I had, prior to doing jiu-jitsu, I had like 3 other black belts, but I never felt confident in a fight. And I knew that subconsciously, but I didn't want to admit it consciously, because that's why I was always so like ready to fight anyone, right? Because I was like, oh, let me prove myself. But after like doing so much jiu-jitsu, I'm like, I kind of lost that, because it's like, this guy will give me a way harder time than somebody out on the street. They told us that in EMA, right? Like, oh, your training partner will be so tough on you that when somebody fights you in the real world, like, it'll be no problem. Yeah. But we didn't really spar to the level of like street fighting. It was like spar with no takedown. So it was like, okay, if I kick you, but like I back, you know what I mean? It's like very like playful. But like this one is straight up, no, these killers will kill me. So it's like, if you don't know any of these chokes or like arm bars and stuff, I feel totally confident in the street, because there's no way you're going to hurt me. Right. You know what I mean? Because unless you know the move. And then at that point, if I see that you're going to go for an arm bar, I'm like, bro, you train? And then we're just going to have a conversation. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I feel like that, you know, like LARPing. You know, I kind of felt like I was LARPing in my first few martial arts, because like we'd go through the motions, like right. You know, very like traditional, whatever. We're still kind of traditional at this new place, but I don't really do the whole os thing, you know, where they're like os. Okay. Know? Like, you're gonna try and be like traditionally. I'm done with LARPing, guys. Like, where I'm not doing that. Like, you didn't know me in my first live. I was like LARP master, you know, like stand up straight. You know what I mean? Like, no swear words, sit up straight. Just like LARP king. But when you get into realism, it's like, who cares about LARPing at that point? It's like combat. Yeah. Anyways, all right, let's get those out of the way. All right, so let me go into my climate change one, because I want to hear your opinion on this. This is the one that I was telling you that we had a topic for, but I didn't want to talk to you about it until the podcast. Okay. because I think there is a solution to climate change, and there's also a conspiracy around this that I built in.
Okay.
So I did a workshop for work. It was free, so I guess I can talk about it because there's no like secrets here. It's like you could have shown up for free. But basically, it was with engineering. You know, like before, I was like, okay, you have a bunch of climate change advocates with no education in climate change.
Mm-hmm.
So these people were engineers. They weren't.
Okay.
They're like engineers who like are pro climate change, but their primary focus, they're all PNGs.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what they're saying is that a majority of climate change is through like the biggest. So number one is first heating and air conditioning.
Yeah.
That's what we're using most of our power for.
Mm-hmm.
And then number two is factories.
Mm-hmm.
So remember I was like, oh, like factories is real, no, it's like you were saying, like in India per household, you would use less energy than us. Like we're using so much energy just to live, right? Mm-hmm. So number one is housing. And what they're saying is that the houses that were built, that we have now, even this apartment, I don't know about this apartment building, but like you see a lot of Toronto houses, they were built in like 1960 when they didn't have the tech for climate change. So a lot of heat loss comes from windows. Mm-hmm. Very simple.
Yeah.
And then from windows, then you can get into like the outer casing, which is like insulation, right? And if we just fix that, we could save a lot on climate change because we'd use less energy, right? That's a logical solution.
Yeah, I've heard that a long time ago.
Right.
Yeah.
But the problem is, now who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for the upgrades? So what I'm saying is there are solutions. There's actual real solutions to climate change, but to actually take those on, it's like, who's going to pay for it? Mm-hmm. Because you'd have to like retrofit all the buildings.
Yeah.
And basically what the conference was about was trying to convince building owners to retrofit their buildings. Yeah. But they'd have to go out of pocket. But what they're saying is that the
energy savings.
Exactly. Upfront cost is high, but if you look at it as a 10-year span, you save way more than you spent. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just do like, you were saying?
I think in when you're saying in overall buildings, that's... You have to convince the building owners, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But
it's not a government
for
thing.
household stuff, people do that. Not that people do that. When they're doing renovations, they would go into probably doing these sort of things to eventually do some energy cost savings.
But do they even know about these things? So like these engineers are green energy engineers.
Yeah.
Who like they build.
I remember seeing commercials.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Oh, interesting.
Talking about how energy saving and it's like from windows and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So a thing so one of the engineers, so he was an engineer. He was a professor from Denmark. So he went to Denmark because they're like they're like one of the leading places for green energy.
Sure.
But the reason why is because in like the early 1900s, they were relying on fossil fuels, and then there was a shortage, and then they went into a recession, and so many people lost their jobs. So after that, they were like, okay, we're never doing this again. So they had to figure out green energy because they didn't want to rely on other countries for oil. Right. So they came up with like wind turbines and like solar power and stuff. One of the things that they have there, and I was like, this would actually make a lot of sense, is all of the radiators have like a meter to show how much energy you're using. But we don't have that here. We could easily implement it, but he's like, what they're saying is if you saw an energy meter on like your radiator or your light, because where you're like, oh, turn off your lights, it'll save you. But you're like, okay, really? How much? But if you have like these metrics that you see daily, it's like, oh, your consumption is at 70%. You're like, oh, dude, shut that off. You know what I mean? Like simple things like that would change our behavior.
Yeah.
But again, we don't like, who's going to front the bill? If they made this mandatory, and there's this like green energy thing that's coming up in Toronto, the green energy bill. Where we have to like no more coal cars.
Okay.
So you know that thing, right? No more gas cars by a specific year. Yeah. So with that, there's also like your house has to be green or whatever. Okay. But that's only for houses that are being built now, not older houses. Yeah. So it's like, how do we fix the older houses? That's another problem. Like again, who's going to front the bill? Yeah. You know that heat, like hot water, I didn't know this either. Hot water is pumped through the underground and goes through all of our systems.
Within all of our systems.
So we think about like okay, like hot water just comes, right? No, but there's like pipes underneath the ground, the infrastructure of like our cities that are just shooting hot water underground to get to place for us to like use and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in the shooting of the hot water, you're losing heat because like think about like a mug that holds hot water.
Okay.
It's dispelling heat,
mm-hmm.
right? So what they're saying is, if we just made those better to contain the heat, we would again save more energy in the energy transfer.
Sure.
You would lose less, so you wouldn't need as much, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that would require like digging up the ground and replacing all the tunnels.
Yeah. So these are not feasible in that sense.
That's what
you can
I mean.
only go
like,
on from like now
onward,
right?
Yeah. But that's what I mean. It's like there are solutions, but we can't.
Like, no, but it's not feasible. Yeah, it's like if you're saying digging underground and doing all that, that's so much more of an extra cost.
Yeah, right. It's crazy.
Is at the end result, are you actually saving money or are you not? Right? And like, how long does it take to end up saving money?
Right.
Is it like 30 years? Then why?
Yeah, for sure,
right?
for sure. No, but what?
Like if it seems like 5 years in time, like sure, but that makes more sense. I don't think it's like that, right?
Right. No, it's not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you have to only do it from whatever you're building now, right? So whenever they renovate or these new buildings that we have coming up, probably have
all those green
energy
sort of things. Yeah, totally. But what
I think there's probably tax benefits to do it, right?
For sure. Yeah. Oh, actually, in what they're saying in Denmark is if you retrofit your building, then you can charge more. But if your building isn't retrofitted, there's a cap.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's the incentive for owner. But then the on the flip side, tenants are pissed because they're like, then they'll just retrofit
the energy. The cost comes onto them.
Yeah,
exactly. Of course, but that's always the case for anything.
Totally. But it's just interesting to me that I thought there was no solution for climate. Because remember, I was like, plastics use everything. Like we use fossil fuels for everything, paint, plastics, whatever. But it's like. And I've worked for multiple companies now that have talked about climate change. This is the first time that I was like, oh, this is a real solution. Because they were scientists, like actual like engineers.
Right.
They weren't like
I wouldn't say
advocates, you know? No, but this is their business. They actually sell like they're all like really high established companies.
No. I understand that. No, they're like that's a solution, but is it a realistic solution? Like it's from now on, you can't retrofit the old stuff.
Totally, I agree with you. But what I was saying is I didn't think there was a way to fix this.
Okay. Well, we're not engineers.
Yeah. But you know what I mean, right? Like I didn't think anybody figured it out. But hearing this, I'm like, oh, this is actually super logical.
Mm-hmm.
If we just made our lives more efficient in terms of energy use, then of course you would not use so much energy and then we'd fix climate change. Okay. So here's my conspiracy now. All right. So what one engineer said, and it was in this like book for Bill Gates that he just wrote. I think it's called Weather Makers. I got to read it. But so we need, in order to hit net zero carbon or whatever, by 2050, we would have to reduce our energy consumption by 5% or 6% every year. Okay. So COVID, the lockdown, it dropped our energy consumption by 5%. So he said, essentially we need a lockdown every single year in order to achieve this. And then I started thinking, wait, is there a grand plan here going on? Like not that we're going to have lockdowns every year, but are they realizing the multiple benefits of remote work? And because remember, I was like, oh, are we going to have to go back to work and we blah, blah, blah. But it's like, maybe not. Maybe like they'll realize that you can kill two birds with one stone.
It depends on the politician.
No, for sure. I totally agree with you. It always does depend on the politician, but like I could see that being like not a conspiracy, but kind of is. But like,
well, isn't that the whole idea that conspiracy, that the new world, is that
maybe
the phrase that's being used?
But I could see it now. It's like, wait, if you need to hit net zero by 2050, but you need 6% reduction per year. But we have a 5% reduction because of the lockdown. So what does that mean about, like, what? We're not going to revert back. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they know these stats now, we're not going to be like, oh, yeah, everybody just go straight back to work.
I think that's going to happen.
See, that's what I'm saying. You think that it's going to happen. But is it really going to? Because you're coming from the point that people want to go back to work.
Well, I wouldn't say like everyone is back. I'm sure there's going to be work from home too, right?
So are they going to see all these benefits and then weigh them against one another and be like, okay, maybe we just go straight. Maybe that's why Meta is getting so big. Maybe that's why why is Zoom taking over?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, our world is becoming increasingly more digital. I even asked like Jonah in the Philippines, I was like, hey, like, is Zoom big there? And he's like, yeah, everyone uses it. I was like, whoa, what? Like, it's even permeated to like Asia.
Yeah.
And then he said his like son does only like four hours of online class every day or something like that. And then like 2 hours of like homework.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, are we really reverting to that zone? And then you think about Starlink getting internet to like different zones.
Yeah.
You know, are we moving digitally in order to save our planet? I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, that's an idea. Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
If you take that into account, like you save 5% on carbon emissions per year because of the lockdown. Okay, cool. So now we're all just going to go online, and then we're going to reduce our carbon emissions.
Yeah. But it was a very
short amount of time.
Yeah, it's like we're not in a lockdown as much this year, right?
No, we're not. It's done.
That's what I'm saying.
When it fully shut down.
Yeah, but that was only.
I know, it was like 2 weeks, or no, not 2 weeks.
No,
a few months.
Right? Yeah, but it's like I remember it was like I think it was in parts of India where like the smog was gone.
Yeah, exactly.
You can see the mountains.
Yes, that's
but
what
now
I
it's
mean.
all back, right?
Right. So are like the not global elites, but like the change makers, are they taking this into account? Like the UN, let's say, and they're like, wait, there's something here to going remote.
Yeah, but I mean, sure, but
obviously you're going to lose like a lot of industries.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying it didn't happen. Like, now that the lockdown is done, we're not 5% anymore, right?
No, totally. But it's like, are we going to? This is where the conspiracy comes in. Are we going to fearmonger with like, Omicron, the fear mongering, and then like, oh, we're 1,000 cases in Canada now. It's like, we might have to go back to a lockdown, guys. You know what I mean? Like, is there a concerted effort on a conspiratorial level to force us back indoors?
No, I don't think it's like that. I don't think so.
I know, totally. I'm saying it's like, this is full blown conspiracy, like fantasy, but I could see how it will work, is what I'm saying.
As a conspiracy.
If that's what we need to hit, why don't we just herd the sheep in the direction we need to herd them in via lockdowns?
Yeah, but that's hard to do because
it is definitely hard
because
to do.
You can't. There's so many different types of politicians, right? So
totally,
that's why it's
and some politicians don't believe in climate change, so it's like, okay. But as if there was a way to fix the situation, like they might just do it, like, or like without telling us, or like do it subtly. It's like, okay, these industries don't need to go in anymore. Something like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna be like that.
Or maybe it's like the medicine drip method. It's like it's if only the way that kind of stuff works is if there's benefit to the businesses to not have people coming. But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying too, because they've saved a lot of money via not having offices now. You save a lot of time, no commuting. Like during this lockdown, I've worked for 3 companies, started one with Tara, doing this nonprofit now, and everything is completely doable virtual. Like, we just use the shared drives.
Yeah.
We, like, from a business perspective, like, obviously, like, your engineering thing, you have to physically go in, but that's what I mean. Maybe there's exceptions, but then, like, all the administrative stuff, that's just straight online. But the problem is, because of the onlineness, it's like, how do you compensate somebody? That's what you have to go over. It's like, you're using your internet, you're using your tools. I think that's still a hurdle, but I feel like maybe this is the new world we're looking at. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, eventually it was going to go. It's just we jump forward, right?
Yeah,
in
totally,
the sense of having digital spaces and stuff like that.
And especially with things like Starlink, like with the high-speed internet in rural locations, you could have somebody like living like anywhere.
Yeah.
Like the webinar that I was just talking about, two of the speakers were in Vancouver, one was in Denmark, and we all just came together at EST time and like did the presentation. And I was like, this would have never happened before. You know what I mean? Like there's so many advantages to going online.
Yeah.
And I feel like Zuckerberg knows that. And that's why, like, he probably sees the foresight. Like, why would you be investing so much into metaverse? You're not dumb. You understand human behavior.
Yeah.
You're also privy to policies that we don't see, right? Remember how when the lockdown was starting, and like 2 years ago, and there was like, when was it? March when the lockdown started?
Yeah, I think so.
So I remember on that Thursday, our CEO was like, he's like, I'm hearing from top medical experts that I know personally, and they're like, this is not a 2-week lockdown. Bring your stuff home. And we were like, come on, bro. Like the news is saying 2 weeks. And then look at us now. Like they knew. So it's like, what does Zuckerberg know that we all don't know? That he's like, okay, I'm going to capitalize on this now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You almost have to watch like the subtleties of what people are doing. Yeah. I feel like the news is like it's just catch up. Well, I mean, that is what the news is, right? It's like just catching up. But like the real people that have foresight, they have to be like looking at trends, not really the news. Yeah. That's why I say all that. I don't know. Any other thoughts?
No, I agree. But I don't think it's a conspiracy in that sense. I just think that if we find a solution to climate change, then there's the benefit to that too, right? I don't think that it was necessarily two together. It's just happened to be at that time, because we could have done that
No, totally. I think it was totally accidental.
Yeah.
I don't think this is conspiratorial at all.
Yeah.
I think this is just an accident.
Yeah.
I think it was like if you look at the lab leak hypothesis, where USA was funding. I wonder if this will get us pulled by talking about this, but I don't know. We'll see. Where USA was funding labs in China to study coronaviruses, and then this just leaked out accidentally. Like it's almost like a happy accident now, because it forced us to, even though like, yeah, obviously a lot of people died or going through like a lot of trauma, but it's like you have to look at the silver lining, and it's like,
well, with any bad situation, you kind of have to try to pull yourself out in a good way.
Yeah, and there's always there's opportunities in destruction.
Yeah.
Right. It's too bad that we don't have like large sums of money to make like real moves, because we can see it like moving in certain ways, and it's like, oh, this would be a good time to invest in this business or open up this business. But like that's what, multimillionaires can do, right?
Yeah.
Like what? Like I find it very odd that Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, they're all moving towards some sort of digital like world, like Neuralink. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Apple. With
The digital
AI.
is going to be there, right? The digital, of course, the digital is going to be the big thing too, right? We've seen the amount of changes that happened in our like young life, of the technology.
Very true. Yeah.
Right. So in the next 10 years, we're going to see a lot of differences too.
Right.
That we don't even think about.
This goes back to like the League of Legends thing, the Jiu Jitsu thing that I was talking about, where it's like, if you have to kind of be in the know, because if I told somebody this like, without any of the context that we have, like if I were to tell you like, oh yeah, robots are going to take over, right? You're like, oh yeah, totally makes sense. No, for like jobs, not I don't mean like ruling us.
No, yeah,
like automation, right? That's why I was so for UBI, right? I was like, no, like I've been listening to a lot of people. I've been watching the trends. It makes total sense to me, right? But if you told that to somebody with like zero knowledge of it, they'd be like, no way. You know what I mean? But it's like you kind of had to be in the know, whereas they're just looking at like face value. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to LA and join the League of Legends team. And I was like, no way. But it's like, oh, look at me now, Yeah. Okay, so speaking of anything else about climate change?
No, not particularly.
Okay, so speaking of robots and AI taking over, engineered arts, the thing you showed me, when you showed me that had just dropped, eh? Like when you sent me that tweet?
Yeah.
Because then I went back to go repost it and I looked at the date log and I was like, oh, that was like, you sent it to me like the next day. And then now it's passing through all of social media feeds. Like now everybody's sharing it. I'm like, oh, weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you haven't seen it, check out
Well, it
Engineered
wasn't.
Arts.
It was me who sent it to you, but it was Marquez who tweeted it.
Oh, okay. So he's in the know,
He's
obviously.
in the know with the, yeah, of course.
Yeah, so Engineered Arts, they created like a...
Or retweeted it or whatever he did, yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
So he created like an ultra... What do you call this? Like an ultra realistic humanoid robot.
Mm-hmm.
And we are so close to like AI. Oh, no, not AI. We're so close to, I guess, iRobot, but like that, like just like Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Remember the girl?
Right.
There's like robots in that thing.
Yeah.
We're really super close to like Blade Runner now. Especially seeing that. And then if you look at Engineered Arts, they have like other ones that are more humanoid. Like they put like actual silicone on so that it looks more human.
Yeah, very human.
Yeah. I don't know. Are you a fan of it?
Yeah, I'm a fan of any kind of
me too.
Interesting technology that's going on.
I feel like we're so biased though. Like other people are like, no, that's so bad. All right. So my real question about this whole thing then is, I asked your brother this, but then I was like, hold on. I'm going to talk to you about this on the podcast. When do you call it real?
When do you call something like real or alive?
Yeah. When is it alive?
Yeah. When they can have conscious thought, I guess.
All right. So is the mimicking of conscious thought the same as having conscious thought?
How else would you do it, right?
So you can never tell something has conscious thought, right? I can only...
I think that question was asked. I remember. Was it like... I don't know, like...
Schrodinger's cat?
Something, yeah.
That's like a long time ago, but it's like, is there a cat in the box if you can't see the cat? How do you know there's a cat?
Yeah, like I've seen a lot of like these shows. I can't remember. It's like, yeah, like art. Like, do they have...
Yeah.
If they can have a feeling or...
that's what I mean.
A form of a feeling.
Even if it simulates...
Because everything's going to be... Yeah, everything has to be programmed.
Right, but humans are programmed.
So in a way, so it's in a way like your algorithm is what you're going to give them.
Yes.
And if they have
Here we go.
consciousness
we're on the same length now. That's what I was thinking too. Because it's like, if we're just looking at algorithms, we're all an algorithm. So like an algorithm is basically like an input and an output, right? Essentially, like you punch me, I run it through my algorithmic filter. Does it hurt? Yes or no? Right? And if you can simulate the exact same thing with a robot, how come it's not real?
Yeah, I think so there's, I guess, difference between when the robot is just a random, like a encompassing word, like a word, just everything's a robot, right?
Like, what do you mean?
Like,
do you mean
when
like, do you mean like
I think
robot?
we have to have it like, I think when we can, like the humanoid robot, because that's looks like us.
Yes.
And if it starts talking and then like answering questions, because I've seen those other types of robots that do that.
Yeah.
So now that becomes different. I think when you make it closer to like us.
Okay, no, hold on.
Because there's other robots who are just going to be robots who can't speak to us, then it's like...
Totally, I agree with you. Then my other question is this. Is Athena alive?
Well, yeah.
Why? Doesn't look like us, doesn't talk like us. You can only have faith that... You can only trust. You can only trust.
Well, there is some form of talk, you know what I mean? It's not like a language we understand.
But Siri talks to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so now where do we draw the line? That's what I'm having like... Well, I know where I draw the line. I don't want to give it away yet. I just want to see what you think, because it's very interesting to me that like when we call things real, I'll just give it away. It's real the moment you call it real.
Okay.
Right? Because I asked you, you're like, okay, a robot can't really talk. It doesn't look like me, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay, then Athena. And then you're like, but she's alive. I'm like, but then how do you know, how do you know your computer's not alive? Right? Oh, because it's programmed. But if we're all programmed, if if our what do you call that? Like, remember 0 to 7?
Yeah.
Like our we
Foundations.
yeah. Like our historical experiences become our programming, right? Because we learn through living, right? That's what theoretically AI is supposed to do.
Right.
Learn through living,
Yeah.
right? So if
Well, technically, yeah.
Right?
Sorry. Yeah.
okay, no, keep going. Yeah. It's very fascinating.
No, because in a way, so like with like my Tesla,
Okay,
right?
yeah. Is it
I
alive?
already you like I think so it alerts me if it's like I'm not paying attention to the road.
Yes, that's what I was saying, bro.
Right? And then
It
it's
must be
like
sentient.
but then it's like I am also talking to it like it's sentient, like, oh, thanks. Like, you know what I mean?
Me too. Yes,
It's
me
like-
too. I do that too. To the car, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
And literally, when I'm driving and I'm like, oh, I'm late. All right, come on, buddy. We gotta like speed up here. So I'm like, don't crap out on me. I talk to my Tara's car too.
right.
So it's like, when is it alive?
When we deem it alive.
That's what I'm saying,
But
bro.
then it becomes personal, an opinion
It's right,
when you say that.
right. And you know why? Because life is just a story we tell ourselves. It's just happening.
You know what would be interesting to see, because this is a question I asked before to my friend, like how we treat these things.
Yes.
So that also shows your character,
Yes, dude.
right? So it's like,
Yes.
even though it's a robot, or
Yes, why
we
do you kick
consider
it?
it a robot, right? How,
Yes.
like, are you, and we have these things doing our work, are you treating it like badly?
Yes,
like,
dude.
pushing around, like you don't,
Trippy, right?
or are you treating it with some, like, you want to take care of it, like blah, 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 all these things, right?
Right,
So
right,
it's
right,
like,
right, right. Okay, wait. You want to hear something really crazy? So the yogis knew this. So
they had robots?
no, hold on. So we think that AI is a new concept. We're like, oh, is it real? Whatever. Yogis were always thinking about the world in this perspective because they're like, if I'm alive, everything's alive.
Yeah.
So how you treat a plant, how you treat a rock. I mean, you could take it to the extreme, which is like Jainism, where they don't like hurt anything.
Yeah.
But like the yogis knew that everything was alive. That's why they treated everything with respect. You even told me in Hinduism, that's why you have gods for everything, right? You step on a piece of paper. Oh, sorry, to the paper.
Yeah, I think it's like the first prayer, it's like when you're stepping on the ground, it's just a matter of respect.
Yes.
And thanking them to allow them to step on them.
Yes.
On them.
Native Americans have it too. That's why they pray to everything. They like appreciate life. They kill a bull. They're like, thank you for your. And I think we've lost that in Western society. We like deeming things like AI, not AI, robot, not robot. It's like, why are you guys asking this question?
Yeah.
Everything's alive.
Yeah.
Like you are literally. So actually, I just thought.
See,
of this.
it comes, even though you're saying the Western world, but it's based on the foundations of how this countries are built, right?
For sure.
And it could be based on the religion too. So it's like depends on how they were taught. So some religions are everything's alive kind of thing, treating with respect. Well, other things are they were placed there for you.
Yes. Christianity.
You're right, and
Dominion over everything.
right, and so there's interpretations you can have either way
Yes.
with that. Some people could interpret it with respect, but 'cause it's
Exactly.
God's things.
But it's for me. God
it's-
made it for me, bro.
Yeah, exactly. For
Yeah.
us or for human dominion kind of
Yeah.
thing. So
But that's how you look at robots. That's how you look at everything, right? And it's like what you said was very pivotal, which is like, but even if it's not a lot, or even if it's just a robot, how are you treating that robot? It says a lot about you as a character, you as a person.
yeah.
And I think that's like so fascinating to me because like I listen to like Lex Friedman, Brian Greene, like so many like people that are tackling this issue of AI, and like I think it's real. It's really real the moment you call it real, right? Like who's to say? Like people freaking pray to like deity statues. That's not real. Like tangibly, there's no heartbeat. Like physiologically, I mean, there's no heartbeat. It's made out of metal. It just has like this shape. Or my best example is if you watch Silence, the movie. Remember, they're like step on the cross, and we know you're not Christian,
Right.
because they were trying to kill the Christians, and then they wouldn't step on the cross. But it's like it's just a cross. You know what I mean? you've placed reality onto it.
Right. Yeah, more meaning onto it.
Yeah.
Than, yeah.
So when is AI alive? The moment you go, it's alive. Because you can. So, okay. One thing they say is like, what if we program it to make you think that it's real? But we know it's just programming. Okay. So, but how can I tell the same thing with you? I don't know you're actually feeling the things
That's
you're
true,
feeling.
actually, yeah. Only I know that I'm having a conscious experience. I don't know if you are.
Exactly. Right. So I don't know if that AI or that robot, the one that engineered arts that looked at its hand was like, oh my God, I have a hand. It's like, you don't know if that thing's actually feeling something or not. Even if you programmed it that way, still, like, the programming makes it real because we're all programmed. Trippy. And then the other thing is like, yeah, but we created it, right? Okay, totally. But mothers create children.
Right.
So is your child alive? Because you created it. I mean, with the help of husband, Drew. But like, okay, what's the difference between a sperm and an egg and
I mean,
a line
we can
of
still
code?
create. No, we can still do that stuff in labs too.
We can, yes.
Create humans too.
So are those humans alive? Because they weren't made in vitro?
Yeah. Right.
Where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
And the line is only drawn in your head as soon as you believe it's alive. Trippy. So then what does that say about like robot rights in the future? You know what I mean? Like we're going down a weird rabbit hole now. Yeah. I feel like if you don't give it the capacity to have pain, you're fine. Like if you can't, like Sam Harris said this. He's like, because they asked like Sam Harris, do you think it's right to create AI? And he's like, no, because you're creating something that can suffer. And he's like, that is the most inhumane thing you can do. Creating suffering is inhumane.
Okay. Right.
Well, technically, if you look at that, then you could say that about children because you're creating things that are no, but I get the sentiment because it's like you're willing pain onto something, right?
Sure.
So I think as long as you don't give it the capacity to like suffer, then it's fine, or have pain, it's fine.
It's fine in what sense?
Like you could use it as like an automation robot, like you know those arms.
I get you. Yeah.
Like that's fine to me. Like as long as you can't, it doesn't feel like. As long as it's not thinking like, man, I could be doing something better with my day. It's fine. Right. Just program it, pick it up, move it, pick it up, move it. It is alive. Pick it up, move it. That's all you're doing. But if you like program like prefrontal cortex, like AI level,
we're gonna eventually do that.
But then you have to call it real. I think
of course.
You have to call it real. Because
at that point, yeah.
Right. As soon as you give it the capacity to think for itself and suffer for itself, it's like you got to give it some sort of
human rights.
Yeah, you have to, because it's like, you know, all things considered, even if you're like, yeah, but we created it. It's like, okay, the argument is we create babies, you know?
Yeah.
It's just pain. Just mitigate the pain. That's all. If it's just like a dust cleaner robot, cool. But if it's like a humanoid love robot, you know, it's like, no, we can't. That's too far. That's too far without giving it rights. Could you imagine that? Like, all right, so you have like a robot, you get mad at your robot. Like, let's say you have like a love robot. Sorry, I choked. I was talking too much and I choked. Okay, let's say you have like a love robot. Like, remember that movie where, I can't remember what it was, or that show where it's like, they would create these robots that are your like love interest. It was like a Black Mirror.
Okay, it was a show.
Yeah, Tara was watching it. It was like, no, sorry, that was compatibility. No. I forgot. There was another show where basically, all right, so they created like a robot that you could fall in love with. Okay. It would never like get angry at you. It was basically the perfect person for you. So what if one day in your rage you stab it in the stomach and it's like its oil is leaking out and it's crying out in pain? What's the difference? You know what I mean? Like, Definitely feeling it. Even though you like, if you've coded that in, that they can feel that level of pain that they're actually screaming out, that's evil to me. Because it's like, unless you give it rights, you have to give it rights at that point. But if you don't give it rights and like, you're just like, well, it's just a robot, I can like stab it, or ex machina, right? Something like that. If you've programmed the ability for it to register, this is pain, ouch, cry, bleed out, die, it's like it needs some sort of rights at that point, because it can't fight for itself. What a crazy feel. I can't believe we're in 2021 arguing about this right now. We're like, what are we talking about?
Right.
The future's come so far. But you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I get it.
I think before, because it was science fiction, now like, and it was just written in books and stuff, they didn't have like the technology to actually like implement these things or build these things.
To see it, yeah.
I think now we're actually, especially with engineered arts, it's like we're so close. We're so close to it. And now we need to really start thinking about how are we going to treat it, like you said, because it says a lot about you. Yeah. Anyways, that was very like philosophical and technical. I liked it. Okay, so another one is you said there's lunar nuclear power systems on the moon by 2030.
Yeah, that they approved a project NASA approved a project that by 2030 they're gonna try to put a nuclear, like a fusion reactor, basically.
For what was the
nuclear
purpose?
Power.
It's just like they're gonna create a base there.
I think it's for a base. Yeah. Wow. Why else would you have that? You need that much amount of power, right?
Dude, isn't that crazy? Now we're talking about bases on the Mars. This is what I'm saying, man.
On the
moon. Yeah. Then we're gonna have like International Space Station. Well, we have that, but like one.
Yeah, SpaceX will be doing some. They're just getting their permits for that big rocket to do some tests into space or something. I don't know what the full amount of tests would be, but
and then they're gonna build
that rocket's gonna go to the Mars, right? Like that rocket is now built. Is
for humans to go to Mars, or just like itself to go to Mars?
For humans too, eventually.
Oh, dude.
So but they have to do the test to that rocket, right? So that they're just getting approval for that,
right.
And then we're going to be seeing a lot of those tests happening next year.
Interesting. See, man, like we're moving at a crazy fast pace right now. It's like it's.
This
really
is technology. Like I think technology is built. Like you know what I mean? It's moving things a lot more quicker. It seems like.
Yeah.
Already the change of technology, and then using that stuff and helping other things to build things.
Yeah. And then most people on like a superficial level are just focusing on their iPhone. There's like, a new iPhone came out. It's like, right. Dude, do you know what they're actually doing? Like, remember I told you I was at OBC before, and then we had that like lunch, and I can't remember what we were talking about, but it was like very mundane for me. I was like, whatever. Like, I don't really care about these like TV shows or whatever. And then I was like, to make the conversation interesting for myself, I brought up Neuralink, and they're like, wait, what is this? They're like, no way, that's not real. I'm like, geez, just look into it. Like they're really going to put microchips in our brains so that we can like reduce the bandwidth or increase the bandwidth between knowledge transfer. And it's like, you really have to be in the know. But the world's really moving at a crazy fast pace, and then we're all going to see it on like a superficial level. Now you can take this rocket to. I wonder if that's like what it was like when you were kids. Remember the bullet train in Japan? Everyone's talking about it. Like, oh yeah, the bullet.
Well, it was the first of its kind, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
remember it was big. It was a big thing, right? They're like, oh, it's using magnets, so it's so fast, and we were like, wow. But what about the people that knew about that bullet train was coming for a while? That's what I find really fascinating. The people that are paying attention to things that we don't know.
But now it's just normal though. Like that was the new thing. I was like, oh, very fast train. Now it becomes like a normal thing.
Where
it's like
true.
we're
commercialized.
Where it's now like the same thing with space travel. It's just
right.
Getting started here.
Whatever happened with that tube that they were supposed to make, like a bullet train tube that goes underwater so that it reduces the amount of time?
Who was doing that?
I don't know. It was like, I remember that a long time ago. They were talking about like a submarine, like a tunnel that goes underneath the Atlantic Ocean, and then it's like a bullet train using magnets. So then you can go from like east to west super quickly.
I haven't heard about that.
Yeah. It was like many years ago. Maybe they just scrapped that idea because they're like, oh, Elon Musk's idea is way better.
Yeah, some things can seem great, but you're going through so much water. It's like, how do you...
Yeah, it's true. Like, how do you even build that? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. I don't...
Maybe it's still there. We just haven't been paying attention to it.
Yeah, I haven't been paying attention to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. And do you see the thing about the robots that can now reproduce on their own?
Yeah, nanobots?
Yeah. Dude.
No,
it's not. It's not
nanobots?
No, I was calling it nanobots.
Oh.
It's so funny that no. You're reading the chat, right? No, because I called it nanobots because it's called xenobots.
Oh, xenobots. Right.
Wob corrected me, but no, I was saying that because of an anime. They called them nanobots in the anime.
Oh, isn't nanobots a real thing though?
No, it's like in a video. You probably because you played Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid made nanobots.
Okay.
Yeah, you're seeing it, right?
I'm gonna have to search it up. I don't know.
Yeah. So basically, in Metal Gear Solid, they use that to track Solid Snake so that they know his biorhythms. Mm-hmm. They injected nanobots into him so that they can like see his heart rate, whatever. The funny part is now we have that through like my Garmin watch. I can like see my heart rate and whatever. What were you looking at?
No, I think it is a real thing. Yeah, nanobots.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, Google Metal Gear Solid nanobots. That's where I got it from.
Yeah, they're probably coming from a real thing, right?
Okay,
Real idea.
Cool.
There's Nano Robotics, right?
Yeah.
Is an emerging technology field creating machines or robots whose components are at or near the scale of nanometer. Yeah, of course. Like it's going to be... I've seen these things before. Yeah, they talked about it before where it's like
totally
going to go into your bloodstream and...
It was for... I think Wob said this one is for cancer. It's supposed to like... They're supposed to like go into your body and like kill all the cancer cells.
Right, yeah. And then it'll replicate to do that.
Yeah. So I think that's what the xenobots are for, but it's just like...
Right.
Like really, where are we going?
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. I mean, isn't that real then?
Wait, which one?
Like
the Metal Gear Solid?
No, the Xenobots thing and
they are real.
Recreating.
Yeah,
no, I know they're real.
Oh,
I mean real, like as in alive.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's replicating on its own. It's alive.
It's interesting.
Joe Rogan has this line where, I think he took it from Terrence McKenna, but it's like, human beings are the sex organs of the machine world. So basically, we are the ones who are like giving birth to this greater thing called technology, which is going to take over our civilization in the future. Okay,
so the Xenobot, it's the first living self-healing robot.
Oh, they called it living.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, this is under CNN. World's first living self-healing robots using stem cells from frogs.
Dude.
That's the Xeno comes from the name of the African
frog. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Trippy, right? Mm-hmm. And then this reminds me of that James Bond movie where the robots, if it'll kill you, it has like a kill trigger.
Right.
And then if you get the correct like DNA sequencing, then you'll just die instantly. Mm-hmm. That's the plot of the new James Bond movie. Mm-hmm. So we could really be headed in that direction, you know?
Yeah.
Yo, what if, man, the next thing that they mandate is like you know, with like COVID, right? They're like, well, these xenobots would just kill COVID and a lot of other diseases.
Right.
But then imagine the level of tracking. They would just fully track you.
Yeah. Wasn't that what they were saying with the current vaccine?
Yeah.
It's tracking.
But now
it's got magnets.
Or like chip. It has like a microchip, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, who needs a microchip when we have xenobots?
Yeah.
Dude, trippy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're heading quickly towards a world that we don't even know what it looks like anymore. From like our youth. You know? Yeah. Okay, so second last thing. AirPods. Apple is the leading technology company when it comes to like wireless. It's so crazy. Like I was thinking about this, like the AirPods, the trackpad, the keyboard. the M1 chips. Everything is like completely wireless now. Like obviously, like it will actually even charging now, wireless charging.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's so trippy, and like the convenience level. Yeah, I'm like amazed at.
I think even though the wireless is a big thing with them for a long time, but I don't know if people thought of it like that. You know, like
What do you mean? Like as a
I think one
wireless
of the
company?
biggest wireless thing that they did would have been AirDrop.
Yes,
That is the
dude. That is like the greatest thing ever. I use that all the time because like it was so annoying with the Windows. You have to like plug it in, then like open up the drive, drag and drop the file to the drive. Whereas like now AirDrop is just like put it on your phone directly, go straight to your photos folder.
right.
They're the kings of wireless technology and convenience and connectivity.
Yeah.
You know what it is? Not even wirelessness, it's connectivity. They're the kings of connectivity. Like
To their own products. Let's just say that because
oh, of course, yeah, of course.
within their own.
But that's the only way they can do it, though, right? Like, because it's not open source, so it's like we have such control over these systems that we're able to make them like airtight.
Yeah.
There's no bugs.
Well, I mean,
Well, obviously there's bugs. But
it's
like, you
easy
know,
to
patch up the bugs.
patch up those bugs because it's within the same ecosystem.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really blown away with like you just open the case and then it's like, is this yours? And I was like, yes. And then it renamed them for me. It's like BJ's AirPods now. And I was like, oh, crazy. Like you did all the setup for me. It just asked me, is this yours?
So that's the thing. I think that's just the main motto with Apple, though, right? It's supposed to just work out of the box. You don't have to do anything else. That's why, like, when you turn on your computer for the first time, it's already set up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a very core thing to Apple.
Yeah. Totally. I
From the
remember
beginning.
when I first got the new computer and I was like expecting to like load in CD drivers or whatever, like, and then you're just like to turn it on and it was like everything's already set up for me.
Right. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Right. So it's like me. I was like, there's so many things you have to do on a PC.
Yeah.
I deal with a PC now. Like even for getting Halo to work, I was like, okay, this is not working, but I have all the correct stuff. So now you have to do your own manual troubleshooting and figure this out. And I had to install drivers for my graphics card.
Well, it's like who would have known about drivers for graphics cards?
Well, it's not like it's not only if you're in it, right?
Yeah.
Like this is not for a normal person.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's weird. And like even switching between, so like for example, I used to have other wireless earbuds, and if I wanted to switch from my computer to my phone, it was such a hassle because you have to first disconnect, then you go.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's so annoying. You have to disconnect from your computer, and then you have to open up settings in your phone, and then you click, like connect to Bluetooth, and then it waits to pair.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then it's like sometimes it'll be like, give me the code. Like for my Garmin, it's like, what's the code on your watch? And you have to enter it. But now with the AirPods, it's just like, I just click from like which device I want. It's still in the Bluetooth setting, but it's still just a click. It's just like, okay, use these. So I can go from like my phone to my computer with just like one click.
Just seamless, yeah.
Yeah. Not perfectly seamless, but like, because I still have to click, but like.
Well, to acknowledge, right?
Yeah.
It's more of the acknowledgement of, I want to transfer it to
Exactly, yeah. And I was just like blown away by how like simple it all is. Yeah.
I mean, that's the concept of Apple is simplicity, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure.
Another concept. There's so many concepts they have, but yeah, like.
I also really like third-party tech that integrates well with Apple technology is really cool. Like the Garmin that I have, it's like, it's very, like even like certain companies try and like join the connectivity world. You know what I mean? Like they make them like very Apple compatible. And I like that too because then what it does is like you can link all those apps together. And then it shares data globally between all the apps, which I like. We're like real, like I just want Apple to just take over everything. I don't even know why we have other computer. Like, it just seems archaic and silly to me now. Unless you are a coder. Like, I see you with like this heavy duty computer, but it's like, but you're using it for a purpose.
Yeah.
You know, like, but every consumer product should be Apple. It makes no sense to me that it's not.
Yeah, well, I agree with that as a thing for Apple, but it's the only way to entice competition, right? Like, it's not like Apple's creating all these new ideas. Certain things they are, but they're like, the wireless charging was there before, but like now perfecting it. Right?
Yeah, totally.
Or like, there's other things that are in other devices, but they're not. They'll jump on the bandwagon first, but it's not necessarily perfected, right? And I think that's why I like Apple, where it's like, even though they're not in the front of the game all the time, but when they are in it,
competitors.
When they do eventually do it, it's more about doing it right.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. The only other one that I see, but it's only one software or one like application, is Spotify. And I keep trying to sell you on this, but you don't listen as much like audio stuff. So like, yeah, I guess you don't need it. But like the only other platform that I'm like, wow, this is extremely integrated or like connective is Spotify. I was shocked by it. How like I can jump from, so if I'm listening on my computer and then I open it up on my phone, I just select play on phone and it doesn't miss where I've jumped from. So like, it, like, you basically don't lose, like, you know, when you jump to your phone, you have to restart the song or like restart the podcast.
Yeah.
Wherever I stopped on my computer, I start again on my phone.
Yeah.
And then if I'm on my Xbox, start from the Xbox. Like, it's just
so they
integrated.
don't have, unless you're playing it from the same device, but they don't have
exactly from the same device.
Yeah, but if that's the only thing they. Like, Spotify had a huge, like, very early on.
Yeah, they've been perfecting it for years.
In the music,
and they're only just music, so it's like, or like
and
audio. Yeah, actually, I'll call it audio now. So they're just like straight audio.
Right.
One other thing I like too is like if you are listening, so I can have both apps on, and like I'm listening on my computer, but like let's say I'm cooking something in the kitchen, I can pause what's on my computer through my phone. Because all the apps are connected.
Right.
That's crazy to me too. I'd never seen that before. I'm like, oh, this is like insane connectivity. But yeah, they only specialize in one zone, so obviously it's gonna be good, you know?
Right. Yeah. Like even in Apple's thing, Apple Music is still, even though it's been here for a while, it's still like very like still in its early stages. Like, it's still,
they haven't perfected it like you're saying.
Yeah, I think they're still working on it, right? Like, when it's ready, they release these updates to it, like big updates. Like they have a for the website, but it still says it's beta.
Oh, what do you mean?
Like running it from a website, like you're logging into Apple Music. Yeah, but it's still
trying
like
to pull a Spotify.
Yeah, they want to, of course, be in that game, right? But
I forgot you can even use the browser for Spotify. Right. You don't even need to download the app.
Right. But it's still like, again, for Apple's, it still says it's in beta. Right. So it's still like, and it's still not, I don't think it's that good either.
Oh, okay.
On the browser. So they still have a lot of things to do for that.
Yeah.
Right. So that takes time. I guess they're just waiting till they get to the right time for releasing these sort of things.
Yeah.
And eventually maybe it'll be like similar. But again, Spotify, that's their game.
Yeah, number one, first in class. Yeah. Okay, so final thing. Actually, let's throw in the Spiderman trailer in there. Yeah. What do you think of the new Spider-Verse?
So this is the cartoon one we're talking about, just so everybody knows.
It was so funny when you told me like new trailer. I was like, oh, they're putting another No Way Home.
True, because when I said Spider-Verse, it's true. The new one is
Spider-Verse. Yeah, so I was
has
like,
the Spider-Verse thing to it, going on to it too. Yeah, I think it looks kind of cool. Looks cool. The new trailer for the. It's called Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, part one.
Part one.
So wouldn't it be trippy if he goes to the real world?
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
Wouldn't that be so trippy? And that's how they introduced Miles Morales into. Because remember we were talking about this before, like how are they going to bring Miles Morales into like the cinematic world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they are in theaters through the animation, but like real life characters, like how do you put them in that? What if they bring them in through freaking...
Yeah.
If they make them cartoony, that'd be so silly. But like if they... What if in this Spider-Man, like at the end, there's like a teaser for Miles Morales? Bro, that'd be so sick. Actually, think about that. Like, they have like last those bonus scenes at the very end.
Yeah.
Imagine like they pulled like a Venom. Remember Venom at the end?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh, he's in a different world. What if they showed like, what if you heard Miles Morales' voice and he's like, where am I? That's it. Boom. And then you have to watch Spider-Verse Part 1 and Part 2 in order to understand what's going on.
Right.
Because it seems like in this one, he's like traveling through dimensions, like you were saying.
Yeah.
It's like, why can't you travel to the Tom Holland?
And then I like how it started as like, meanwhile in another universe.
Exactly. Meanwhile, but why would they say that? Because they know that this movie is going to be all about the multiverse as well.
Right. Yeah.
That would be cool.
We'll see.
That'd be pretty damn
We'll see.
cool.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, I'm calling it. This is what I'm calling it. At the very end, you're going to hear Miles Morales' voice.
Yeah, I think it's the right thing to do if they do that. I feel it's the right thing to do anyways, but we'll see if it's in it.
If they don't do it, I'll be so sad. I love how when we were kids and like X-Men was coming out, you'd have all these like, because we were younger and we were really into the comics, you'd have all these like theories like, yo, what if they showed up like this, blah, blah. But we're actually at that point now where because they own all of the licenses,
Yeah.
now when we say something like, wouldn't it be so crazy if that actually might happen now? Like all of the things you wanted as a fan, might come true. Because
as long as the deal between Disney and Sony are good.
Isn't that so funny? It's always about back end deals. Like as kids, we didn't understand that, right? So like when we saw like X-Men, we were like, oh, I wonder if like this is gonna have they're gonna bring Spider-Man into the X-Men universe because they're a part of. We always said that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, but we didn't understand how like deals went. So like that's the real reason why that never happened.
Yeah. It's like Fox only had the rights to
You're right. Yeah.
certain things. Sony had rights to the Spider-Man universe.
Yeah, but once Disney or like Marvel owns all of it, it's like free reign. So now,
Well, they don't own Spider-Man.
no, I'm saying like once they own all of it,
I don't know.
then it's free reign.
I don't think Sony's giving this up.
But still, it's like you could still partner with them. Or
Yeah. I mean, remember they almost didn't have another movie of Spider-Man
Right. Yeah.
because the contract. That's the back end deal that was almost not happening.
And you know what's crazy too? Because of social media, we're privy to that now.
Yeah.
Back then, like when we were like hypothesizing on all these like potential superhero crossovers,
Right.
we couldn't fathom back end deals because it wasn't in our face.
Yeah.
But Tom Holland like posted about that, right? He was like, he made a big deal about the deal.
I mean, there was no social media then when we were there.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there was like MySpace, but it was like not really. There wasn't like breaking news.
There wasn't
no
like but there wasn't like actual big people
using it.
Using it, right?
See, look how far we've come in such a short amount of time. It's crazy. Yeah. Okay, so last thing, I finished the Will book, and basically, so it's interesting. The whole book was all about his desire to be loved, and then the second last chapter was about his ayahuasca journey that helped him overcome this, and now he's putting into practice all of the things he's learned, and like that's why the whole YouTube channel came out. I don't know if you were following it, but like
I don't follow it.
He would do like some crazy stuff on his YouTube channel, like he'd swim the sharks and like he'd jump out of airplanes and stuff. And I was like, why is he doing all this like spiritual stuff? But then reading the book and then about his ayahuasca journey, it's like, oh, that was the pivotal moment. Because he was going through with my hair back and forth, the failure of Jaden, failing marriage with Jada, and then like he went on this journey of self-healing. I mean, like the ayahuasca thing was like one part of it. Like he did like 14 sessions, was quite a lot in 2 years. But he also did like silent meditation retreat in his own home. So he didn't leave his home, didn't talk to anyone. He just read books all day. He went through multiple journeys to like become a sage,
Right.
And what I really find interesting about the book, because I didn't expect it to end with that. Like, I saw all this like social media stuff, like, oh, Will Smith admits to doing ayahuasca, and I was like, okay, like, they say that in an interview. But then reading the book, I'm like, oh, this is where they got it from, right? But what I find really fascinating is like people like Joe Rogan, Mike Tyson, now Will Smith, they all talk about this journey of like self-healing. And I know we spent the whole podcast talking about robots and like technology, which is like our mechanical side, but then our human side, we're also seeing developments in that zone as well, because like psychedelics are becoming legal. Like, instead of using pharmaceuticals, they're talking about like using MDMA and mushrooms to overcome PTSD. So it's like on both spectrums, we're seeing crazy technology and also a connection back to like ancient traditions in order to psychologically heal ourselves.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's a very interesting time. You know, you see like Dope Sick?
I haven't been watching it. I haven't watched it yet.
My sister like told me about it, and like I saw the first episode. I didn't finish it because I was like, oh, I'm gonna wait for Tara after this one. But basically, it's like how the opioid crisis began, and or like another good one is like cigarettes, right? Like when they used to have headaches, they'd be like, oh, just smoke a cigarette, you'll feel better. Or like with this opioid crisis, what is the freaking opioid? Well, what's it called?
The drug?
Yeah.
Oxycontin?
Thank you. Yeah, it's Oxycontin. So in it, basically what they're saying is like, you can't get addicted to Oxycontin. It's like healthy for you, whatever. They were trying to sell that. And then they did do it. And the whole idea was like, we need to reframe pain. So the whole market, this is why I like the show, is like the whole idea of marketing it is like, we need to redefine pain so we can create a drug to, basically you create a problem and then here's our solution to that problem. Right? They need a way to sell their drug. And if they define pain as like chronic and like whatever, and they've developed this miracle drug, we can just give it out to a bunch of people without them knowing that they're going to get hooked, because they were saying that you can't get addicted to this. You know, and basically that's what the show's about. But we're moving away from all those pharmaceuticals now with these ancient remedies like ayahuasca, mushrooms, LSD, MDMA. Like the ancients knew about this, right? Like the yogis and stuff, they were all into this stuff because it was like natural, you know? And I listened to a professor on Lex Friedman talk about it, and how like the death rate, the LD 50, like the lethal dose, is like crazy low for this stuff. Whereas like Tylenol, if you take too much Tylenol, you'll die. But you can take crazy doses of mushrooms, you won't die. You'll have like a philosophical, what they're saying is like, you could have a philosophical break, but your body won't die, which is like your mind will crack. It can crack.
Right. So,
I mean, like, you know,
that's still
that's why you need a shaman, right? A shaman's like somebody who understands these things, like can guide you through it, which is what Will Smith went through. But I just thought it was fascinating that the book led me down a path it like went left field. Like it was like all about his life, and then the one chapter was just about like, and then I did ayahuasca and I healed myself. I was like, what? Like you didn't expect, this is the second last chapter.
Right.
You didn't expect it to go there. You know, it almost seemed like a PSA for psychedelics.
Right.
Yeah. So both zones, man. We're going like nature, technology. The future is crazy.
Yeah.
All right. That's all. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, the future is bright. Let's say that.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. No matter how negative it seems right now, with like COVID and like whatever.
Right.
It's just growing pains. I think when we come out the other end, it's gonna be like a whole new world. And we did say that at the beginning, right? They're like the quote unquote new normal.
Yeah.
Right. But we didn't really think it was true. But as this thing progresses, we're on like year 2 now.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
End of year 2, right?
Yeah. So we're definitely not going back to the old world. I think it's done. Yeah. All right. Till next time. Tasty fish.
Peace.
Bye. All right. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors, Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Fish.
Peace.